a lot of issues affecting North Charleston's District 1, and that's why DaQuan Washington wants to be the next leader for North Charleston's District 1. I speak exclusively with DaQuan for a special edition of Quintin's Close-Ups. And be sure to download the free Quintin's Close-Ups app in your Apple or Google Play stores. Listen to this interview Tuesday on my free Quintin's Close-Ups iHeartRadio podcast. And if you haven't already, subscribe to my YouTube channel.
DaQuan Washington, welcome to Quintin's Close-Ups.
Quintin, thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome.
Absolutely.
Obviously, you are running for North Charleston District 10.
Yes.
And I'm wondering, why District 10, why DaQuan Washington?
Absolutely. So just a little bit about me. I'm 26 years old. I grew up in the Shakora, Cherokee area. I went to Shakora Elementary, graduated military magnet. So this is my community. This is the city and the community that has built me. And I give all my success, to those who have mentored me and who have steered me in direction of success. So I believe in paying it forward, giving back to the community. So I believe that in the upcoming election, it's my time, to do just that and to be a civil servant and to be a voice for the community.
How high will your voice go in North Charleston City Council if you're elected?
Well, my voice is for the people. Obviously, on city council, you have to have votes in order to pass ordinances and to pass policies and bills. So as loud as my voice needs to be, within reason, I will, amplify as much as I need to for the right of the people. Whether it be crime prevention strategies, whether it be community relationship building, with law enforcement, and even community development projects, right? To ensure that our residents have a quality of life. That's the number one goal, and the platform that I stand on as it relates to me running for council.
What is the quality of life right now, particularly in District 10 in North Charleston?
Mm-hmm. Well, the quality of life, let's just call it what it is. Those individuals, they are living in undeveloped communities. They are living in impoverished, environments. The quality of living as it relates to equal opportunity employment is not there. They struggle for employment. So there's no one who's really advocating, for them. There's a lot of resources that they don't know about. So there's individuals who have been selected and who are selected, to be a voice that are really not being a voice and really not advocating for them. So the quality of life, if we had to put it on a scale of 1 to 10, it's a 2. And the individuals of Shakora, Cherokee, Ackaby, the Hike, they're struggling, right? They're struggling, and 9 out of 10 of individuals, they don't have a savings. They don't have a fallback plan, because they don't have resources. Their local city council, their local government are not aiding them in that process.
What are the resources that you will bring to city council in that district if you're elected?
Absolutely. So I believe that, if one's going to represent someone, represent a city, represent a group of people, number one, we have to stand next to those individuals, hear what their needs are, and then we can strategically devise a plan. Let's say our community, we've experienced a lot of kids who have been in accidents with cars that have been speeding in the neighborhood, right? So what's a realistic strategic plan that we can put in place to prevent those circumstances and things that are happening, right? So right comes to my mind is speed bumps, which the Shakora, Cherokee area lacks, right? And Sproul Avenue, there's no speed bumps. I can think in my mind right now, in the past 18 months, 3 kids, got seriously injured, and one was really, experienced fatality because of, the speeding, so that's just one thing. And that's what I would bring to the table, speak on the behalf of the people and go to the city council and say, hey guys, this is what we need. This is what the community needs. We have, these circumstances that are happening, and it's not a cohesive relationship that the city and the community has. Someone has to be the glue. Someone has to be the person in the conduit to unify those two bodies, right? And it's just not there. We look at the past 18 months in that neighborhood, and nothing has been accomplished. We can see gentrification all around. That's great. Big business is great. We understand that's going to help attract tourism to the city of North Charleston, but that's not helping the local residents and communities. You're really driving them out when you think of gentrification and all that comes along with that.
How do you define gentrification in 2019?
In 2019, there's opportunities for opportunity zones that pushes the minorities and the Black community out, right? Number one, they can't afford property taxes. Number two, they can't afford high amounts of rent. So those two factors, it drives the people out, because they that quality of life, they don't have that aspect. When it comes to salary, when it comes to pay, they just can't afford to be a part of the gentrification equation.
And in that equation, when you talk to a lot of residents in that particular district, they also talk about the food desert.
Mm-hmm.
What would you do? What is your plan to execute a food store in that area?
I believe that in the tip of District 10 and in District 10, there is a lot of opportunity zones, right? We look at the Charleston County Library, right, on the corner of Rivers Avenue and Dorchester Road, right? So you have 200 acres where we built the food supply store, right? That is an opportunity zone for where the old Winn-Dixie was, right? So when we think of opportunities, that's going to either, number one, help business, help the city generate revenue, and also number two, that's going to bring opportunities for spending, for the local residents. That's I right out of the gate, I think of a Dollar General, right? Which that partnership is very easy, to build. But even when you go to Sproul Avenue, there's opportunity zones. But then when you look at it, it's gentrification, because when you build things there, the residents that are currently there, they can't afford those living expenses. They can't afford that lifestyle. So when you have great ideas, but those ideas are not going to benefit those that are in that community and that possess that culture, and that's an issue.
What are the other issues when you think of District 10?
Right off the bat, Quintin, as you and I both know, crime. There's not a realistic crime prevention strategy, right? And I call my strategy the dog walkers, right? That's the name of my strategy. That's the name of my policy that I would love to implement. And when you hear dog walkers, you don't think of literally the dark, but I would partner up with City Council, partner up with the mayor and other local community leaders, and we will put resources into at least 10 law enforcement officers to have a presence in the community. I would love to walk with them, meet and greet the residents, ensuring that we are building a relationship. I see that North Charleston, everyone's reactive. When something happens, we all flee to the scene. But what measures are we taking to prevent, shootings at malls, shootings at, theaters, shootings at Tanger Outlet, shootings at restaurants? There's no police presence. There's no cohesive relationship that has been built and that has been effective, right? So we can talk and say, okay, guys, let's devise a plan. But who's executing those plans? No one. There's no one that has a loud voice and the voice is amplified for that district. So that's just my take and my perspective, and that's something that needs to happen. I would love to work with the mayor and, Chief Burgess to continue, to move forward in the future, but also to have a realistic plan and to execute, upon the expectations that our residents are holding us at.
Let me back up, because obviously just last month, actually, a transgender woman in North Charleston, that is, was murdered,
Absolutely.
particularly in that district right there.
Mhm.
How would you address hate crime in North Charleston if you become a city council member?
I go back to the Constitution. I also go back to the values that we stand on in the United States. Hate crime is absolutely, we don't tolerate that. So whoever was involved and whoever committed crimes, they shall be dealt with, to the measure of the law. But also letting the general public know and letting the citizens of North Charleston and the state of South Carolina know that transgender individuals, they matter. And who are we to judge on your sexual orientation? I'm going to judge you on your character, and I'm going to judge you on how you treat people, and I'm going to judge you as a human being. That's my perspective, and that's how I will treat everyone across the board. And hate crimes, it's not tolerated, and that should be drawn across each district, and obviously across the state. And I stand behind those individuals, when those things happen, because they are human. They have equal rights.
Let me get back to affordable, excuse me,
Mhm.
I'm going to get to that,
Yeah,
affordable housing.
Absolutely.
But let me get back to the food desert. What other ideas would you propose to North Charleston and City Council?
So the food desert, there's some businesses in District 10 that need to be sustained, relationship that needs to be rebuilt. A year ago, there was a big meltdown with the franchise of churches, and all the churches collapsed, and all those churches were out of business for 16 days, right? So that's an opportunity to reestablish relationships with those franchisees, individuals, for other opportunities within the district. But also, like I said, there's opportunity zones for more convenience stores and or other franchise opportunities, Dollar Generals, Family Dollars. However, in order for us to put those things in place, we have to have a strategic crime prevention plan, first of all, coming out of the gate. Because when you look at District 10, there's a lot of loitering, there's a lot of poverty, there's a lot of homelessness, so poverty, homelessness, that all drives crime because all of those things are intertwined and, they saturate our community. So those things are bound to happen. But when you have, individuals in the community that are active and that, we see a relationship that has been built and we see a presence, law enforcement presence, city council presence, community leadership presence, that kind of drives crime out. If you really sit down, think about it, so there's no presence there. So the community is going haywire. If there was presence there, the crime rate would be lower than what it is. Poverty would be lower than what it is. At least we could address some of those concerns, and bring it down to a minimum. But it's just not happening, Quintin. Right now, 2018, 2019, we can look back at the past 18 months. The district of the city in District 10, it has been stagnant. It's a stigma. No one wants to go there. No one wants to help it because it's not changing. And they need a leader that is going to proactively and be effective.
How did we get here?
How did we get here? I would say the lack of leadership. When I say the lack of leadership, leadership starts at the top. I'm not condemning those who are elected and who are holding, positions. But if you don't have, the tact, the diplomacy, and the urge to change, nothing's going to happen. So the community will remain the same. You will not see change. And then, individuals, they have their own agendas, They want businesses to come in. They want to pick and choose contracts. And they're not thinking about the people. The people are suffering.
What businesses would you bring into District 10?
I would bring in local businesses. There are small business owners. They want to expand. You got Dell's on the Megan. That's an excellent opportunity to put more locations, within District 10. On Rivers Avenue, on Sproul Avenue, right? There's a young lady in there who's a photographer. She's just opened up her second art gallery. We need more things like that. You got Dutchman's Catering. they can expand. We can build that relationship. The city of North Charleston has resources to aid them in expansion projects, right? So those are a wealth of opportunities that no one's thinking about, no one's talking about, right? And when those things begin to happen, you see poverty goes down. You see crime goes down because the city and the community is being developed in the right way with the residents involved. But as we can see right now, we just look behind the tracks on Sproul Avenue. You got Palmetto Railway. It's big business. They don't care about the residents. My grandparents, they lived on Orbit Street at the very end. They owned their house for 20 years. Palmetto Railway came in and said, sir, ma'am, the state is currently in the process of owning this property. So you got two options. Quintin, they gave my grandparents two options. You can sell it at this price, or we'll take you to court, and you all have to retain a lawyer or whatever the case may be, and we can dissolve it like that. I don't know what process that they went through. However, they're no longer in the neighborhood that they loved, the neighborhood that my parents grew up in, the neighborhood that I grew up in, So they have been drove out of the community that they once embraced, and that's what's happening to this very day. I drove on the Sproul Avenue, just coming here, and I see it all around us. The residents are being drove out.
You talk about those residents. Obviously, the port access bridge is coming as well.
Mm-hmm.
How would you ensure that those people will be able to stay in their homes and have their businesses once this particular initiative comes to town?
So there's an acreage, right? There's an acreage and there's a line of business. So Palmetto Railway and the state have a line that divides their development project versus the community that's still existing, right? So I can assure that in the next 5 years that those residents will stay there, because for the simple fact, Palmetto Railway will not develop in that area. That has been set in stone. I read all of the articles, I read the memorandums from the State Department, and that is something that's concrete. They have a 50-year plan, before any of those lots will be repurchased. So that's a piece of information a lot of individuals don't know about. However, with that road access, that's going to drive traffic. There's only 2 lanes on Sproul Avenue, so who knows? That comes back to my platform issue, community project development. You got 18-reelers, you got ton trucks coming through there. You got kids walking to school. You got kids going to Shakora. You got kids going to Military Magnet. It's not a safe environment. It's big business, and there's a lot of traffic going on. Who's going to protect our kids, right? Who's going to protect our kids getting off the bus, going on the bus, right? Are we going to put resources for more crossing guards, for more officers on duty, for more resource officers, for other council members and other community leaders to be there present to ensure the safety, number one, of the residents?
How would you work with the Charleston County School District on those resources?
So obviously, everything starts with a conversation. And I believe that, we have to start a conversation and we have to bring up real issues. And there's a reality, to some of those issues. And maybe some of them they don't know because they're not in the community. They sit in their high power offices and they're making decisions based off what they think. So me, I'm a civil servant. I don't belong to a party. So I speak on behalf of the residents. So it will be my mission, it will be my charge, to go into my community, speak with my residents, speak with my parents, speak with the faculty and staff, and hear real issues and concerns that they have, partner, with the superintendent, partner with the school board, and say, hey, these are the issues we're having in District 10.
What is your, say, 50-year plan for affordable housing or attainable housing? But let me ask you this. What do you define it as? Attainable housing or affordable housing?
Obtainable housing is a process in which someone has a plan to acquire either a rent, a lease, and or a mortgage, right? Affordable housing is the process in which someone has an interest in a house and they can afford it based off their financial portfolio, based off their finances, and say, okay, I want to move forward in this process and I want to own this house in this district or in this community, and I've looked at the economics and I believe I can afford it. That's affordable housing. That's how homeowners and those who are ready to buy make decisions on their home buying process. And then you have individuals that go through first-time home buyers, programs. Metanoia, the Community Development Corporation, they have a lot of resources, for first-time home buyers. And my parents went through that program with Metanoia as well. So that's how I'm very well versed, in that subject. However, when we look at District 10, when we look at some other districts in North Charleston, a lot of individuals cannot afford to pay rent. And if they had, number one, the literacy and the knowledge of credit repair, increasing credit scores, they can afford a mortgage, a 30-year mortgage, and they can afford a $600, mortgage payment versus a $1,500, rent payment. Because obviously, Quintin, with a mortgage, you're kind of backed by the mortgage company. If you fall short on certain things, life happens. Versus, obviously, with renting, if life happens and you have a financial crisis, you have to vacate those premises in 30 days. So obtainable housing is, those individuals who know they can obtain it and have the resources and have the financial backing to do so. However, in North Charleston, in the district, in District 10,
Sure.
it's a lot of Section 8 housing, so it's also a lot of income-based housing. So, it's based off of their annual paycheck and monthly paycheck. So is a lot of residents, they don't know how to differentiate, that concept, and they don't have the resources to prepare themselves for home ownership.
And maybe get back to the food desert. I know you talked about a lot of convenience stores and Dollar General. But what do you tell the average person who says, hey, I'm tired of convenience stores and Dollar General. I just want a grocery store or a supermarket right there.
Right. So that's where, I sit down with the council, I sit down with the mayor, and we devise a bigger plan, right? The community, they want more, right? I don't want to drive 10 miles to the nearest Walmart, right? Or I don't want to catch the bus to, which is an hour trip to the Walmart at Tanger Outlet, or to the Harris Teeter downtown, or, to Remount Road, or what have you. So like I said, everything starts with a conversation. I can't guarantee that a small neighborhood Walmart's going to come to District 10, but I can certainly build upon that, on something on a smaller scale, right? And it breaks my heart that Food Lion and Winn-Dixie are no longer a part of our community, because those were assets, and it's unfortunate. However, I think it goes back to partnering with the mayor and the city council. Before a decision is made, obviously there's votes involved, and everyone has to agree upon, an implementation in what my community needs. So I can't say for sure, that I can deliver upon certain things. However, I will definitely hear out the community and start the conversation.
How do you start the conversation about public transportation?
Friends of the Low Country, right? So the public transportation infrastructure needs to be revamped. I believe, and Mr. Milton, who's a lawyer downtown, he has a great strategic plan, and he's been trying to deliver upon that plan with the city of, North Charleston for X amount of years. And I believe that his economics and his research is similar to, other major markets, Los Angeles, Atlanta, and New York City, and they have a groundbreaking transportation system. However, we're still in the 90s, Quintin, when it comes to transportation. The equipment that our city is currently operating is very old. We don't have enough capacity to hold all of our residents, in North Charleston, downtown Charleston, Mount Pleasant, West Ashley, James Island, Johns Island. economics show 56 people move to the city of Charleston every day.
Sure.
So what are we doing to enhance our transportation offering? Equipment is the first thing. We don't have enough of it. And I think that goes back to their employment structure. They don't have enough drivers. What are they doing, within their plan to, enhance their employment, structure? So not enough equipment, not enough employees. So again, the residents are struggling. Overcrowded buses. So I'm going to work. I missed the bus because there's no more space. Right now, I'm late for work. Now I'm going to miss money. Now I can't pay my bills on time. It's a ripple effect. So I'm backing Mr. Milton with his plan.
Oh, William Hamilton.
Hamilton, yeah, Mr. Hamilton, Mr. William Hamilton. And there's a lot of more research that needs to be done. There's a lot of analytical information that needs to come forth. So we will continue to go to the Carter board meeting, every month to ensure, that they understand the needs of this community. And they know, but who's in charge? That's my question. Who's in charge? Who's making the decision? Who does not want to change? Those individuals don't need to be there. The city of North Charleston, we are moving forward. So we need individuals who are on board at all levels, who have the thought process and the mind process of moving forward.
You talked earlier about those property rates and all that. Then obviously education, crime.
Mm-hmm.
What are the statistics when you think of poverty, education, and crime in District 10?
Mm-hmm. So poverty level is up by 36% in District 10.
Okay.
And I can also speak for District 6 and District 5,
Sure.
which is the Dorchester corridor, right? So you have Meeting and Dorchester all the way up to Lees Avenue.
Sure.
This is like crime haven, right? So 35% from 2017. Poverty level is at an all-time high. We're sitting at about 97% poverty, right? There's no strategic plan that is reducing that number as we speak, and that's a major issue, right? Like I said, the city of North Charleston is very reactive. And you know what? I applaud us for being reactive. We want to fix problems. But the only way you're going to fix problems and prevent problems is to be proactive. Putting solutions in place and delivering upon, those solutions and implementing them. And we're just not doing that.
DaQuan Washington, thank you so much for your time. And again, welcome back to Quintin's Close Up.
Absolutely, Quintin. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Yes, sir.